Sabbath afternoon Sunday The Rich Fool. Read for this week's study, Luke 12:16-21, Ecclesiastes 2:18-5:10, Colossians 1:15-17. Memory text, And I heard of me, right, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. Revelation 14:13. As we near the end of our earning years, our financial focus turns to preserving our assets in anticipation. The transition from working to retirement can be a very traumatic experience. In terms of our finances, what is the best way to proceed? As people get older, they almost naturally begin to worry about the future. The most common fears are dying too soon, before the family is taken care of, living too long, outliving their assets or savings, catastrophic illness, all my resources at one time, and mental and physical disability. Who will take care of me? When commenting on these fears, Ellen G. White wrote, all these fears originate with Satan. If they would take the position which God would have them, their last days might be their best. They should lay aside anxiety and burdens, and occupy their time as happily as possible, and be ripening up for heaven. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 1. This week we will review God's counsel regarding our last years. What are things we should do? What should we avoid doing, and what principles should we follow? Study this week's lesson to prepare for Sabbath, March 11th. Read Luke 12:16-21. Message to us here? What strong rebuke did the Lord give to the foolish man, and what should that say to us regarding our attitude toward what? Though the message is broader than this, one could argue that this was a story Jesus told about what not to do in retirement. Accordingly, if a person is quitting work to spend his accumulated assets on himself, he should beware and take this. The problem is not with working hard or getting wealth, particularly as one gets older and, perhaps, even richer. The problem is with the attitude toward it. His words, take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry, Luke 12:19, NKJV, here. This man's aims were no higher than those of the beasts that perish. He lived as if there were no God, no future life, as if everything he possessed were his own, and he owed nothing to God or man. Ellen G. White, Christ's Object Lessons. If, during this stage of life, we think only of ourselves and ignore the needs of others and the cause of God, we are following the example of the rich fool. There was no indication in Jesus' parable that the rich man was lazy or dishonest. The problem was in how he spent what God had entrusted to him. Because we don't know the day of our death, we should always be ready for it by living to carry out God's will instead of pursuing a life of selfishness. The general picture given in the Bible is that a person works and remains productive as long as he or she is able. In fact, it is interesting to note that the authors of the great prophetic books of Daniel and the Revelation were, many believe, both in their 80s when they completed their. This was at a time when the average age at death was about 50 years. Ellen G. White published some of her best-known and best-loved books, such The Desire of Ages, after about age 70. Age, then, as long as we are healthy, should not mean that we stop being productive and, to whatever extent possible, Jesus counseled those waiting for his second coming not just to watch but to continue working as well. At any age and with any amount of money, how can we avoid falling into the trap that the man did here? Ask yourself, what am I living for?